right. We're here. You're here. Let's get this party started. This is the Attitude of Gratitude edition of our threat briefing because we're going to give back some gifts to you over this next 2 weeks, holiday weeks here. We are talking about, of course, every episode, latest phishing, deepfakes, and scams, and there are quite a few to talk about. The first one that was hot and heavy in the news this week is about Ticketmaster. A lot of people love Ticketmaster. More people probably don't like Ticketmaster, though. Hackers stealing tickets from Ticketmaster accounts. How do they do it? Apparently, they're just breaking into the accounts, and customers, their tickets are disappearing from their account. Now, what you got to remember is this. The story talks about several different examples of people that said, hey, I went to bed and I woke up in the morning and I noticed that somebody had logged into my account. Somebody had transferred in just 39 seconds. They transferred the ticket out of my account and I did not have it anymore. So if you have Ticketmaster, what do you need to know? You got to turn on that two-factor authentication, especially for ticket holders trying to make transfers. Have a unique password and always rotate the password. And if you're using the same password for Ticketmaster on all your other accounts, that's probably not a good idea. So definitely do that, rotate passwords. And as always, contact Ticketmaster. They may be able to help you. But that's kind of the problem with Ticketmaster. Their platform is the only option. When you need help, you have to go through their people. So tough situation. What else is happening? Well, at SecurityMetrics, from time to time, we get phishing emails. They're shared to us from employees, and we're always grateful when they do share them. And this is one that came into one of our employees. It was a very simple reset password phish, but I thought it was unique in that how it was presented. It's a very polished phish, very clean-looking phish, basically saying, hey, you need to update your password. But what I thought was unique is the writing in it. You see what it says there? How the wording, it's meant to really get you to respond to it. Procedure confirms you're an active user. Oh, so I just reset my password and now you know that I'm an active user. Do not ignore, I got that sense of urgency in there. So very simple phish. Another example in the news is about Telegram, and a lot of people love Telegram, but there is a lot of hijacking going on through phishing campaigns. And the way this works is there are phishing links. They're disguised as a Telegram login page. So you think you're going to a Telegram login page and you're not, you're going to a fake one. And they're really all about getting your user credentials, getting your mobile number, your OTP, your two-factor authentication password. So the way this works is you get the initial phishing message, and then there's a link in there, and it says, hey, in this example, there are photos and videos in it. And you're like, huh, what's that mean? Photos and videos? I better go click on it. And then you click on the link, and again, this is through a text message is how this one got started. So be aware of it. What else is going on? There is a new fileless variant of the Remcos rat observed in the wild. What that means is if you get a phish and it has an Excel spreadsheet, that is primarily the attack vector here. You get that malicious Excel document. You did not know it was malicious. In this example, it was disguised as an order trying to trick the recipient to opening up that document, and that's how the bad guys get in. What they're doing here is they're leveraging these RTFs, which is these rich text files. They're weaponizing them, these Excel spreadsheets. They've been doing this for a very long time. But again, it's just an awareness here. It's the OLE and exploiting that office flaw is how the bad guys get in. So be aware of that. Okay. In the news this past week, this was all over the news. I think every major news media channel was talking about this. These racist text messages that were going around the country. This misinformation expert out of D.C. said, don't play into it. And that's the thing about these racist text messages. They're meant to elicit a response. But is there other things going on here? Is there not just the disinformation campaign and the sowing disharmony and discord, malcontent across the country, but is this actually SMS phishing, if you respond to it? So don't put yourself in this situation, folks. Don't respond to it. You don't want to get involved in this kind of stuff. If you don't have to respond, don't, and you shouldn't, because you don't know the deep reasoning behind why these text messages are being sent. Okay, what else is happening? There are some insider threat news. These are the ones that always get us going and get us, curious. What the heck is going on out there? Well, insider threat news out of South Korea. This engineer was getting ready to leave her job at SK Hynix, and she decided to take a bunch of shopping bags with her full of their intellectual property. This meme cracks me up, just seeing somebody walk through the employee parking lot with all these shopping bags and thinking, why do they have all these shopping bags? And they were at the office and now they're quitting. And turns out what she was doing is she was printing over 4,000 pages of highly sensitive documents. It took her 4 days to print 4,000 pages. Wow, that's an incredible amount. Essentially, she was printing about 300 pages per day and then concealing them in her backpack in those shopping bags. She got sentenced in South Korea to 18 months for violation of their criminal act. And what I thought was interesting too is who she was going to work for. She was going to work for a higher paying role at Huawei in June. So 13 years with the company, and she decides to do this. What can you do? Well, you can always use DLP technology to stop this kind of stuff, digital loss prevention technology, setting up alerts in your network when people are printing out a certain number of pages that just doesn't look normal. You can do that too. So there are 2 ways to stop that. All right, what else is going on? There's a bunch of reports out there. And the one report that we always highlight it every year, the Voice of the CISO report. Yeah. And what I like about it is they interview a bunch of CISOs and they say, hey, what are you doing this year around certain topics like AI? How are you handling budget crunches? What are you doing about your labor and your workforce? Anything that concerns you? And I thought it was interesting at number 5 on their list, their 5th top concern was insider threats. 30% of them are concerned about insider threats. So, all right, here we go. What else do we got going on in the world of reports and AI? We usually talk about AI at the very end. However, 3 reports came out this past week from OWASP. OWASP is one of the top places you can go for resources on software security and so on. And they actually put out a report, top 10 things to do to mitigate risk from Gen AI apps and LLMs. A lot of good resources in there. If you're part of our company and you're watching this, we put these documents up on our shared drive that you're welcome to download. And you, as a viewer at home, you can also go to the OWASP website and check out these 3 reports they put out. Excellent best practices, excellent guides on the landscape of AI and what to do to protect your business from AI threats. Very good stuff, including deepfakes. They have an entire report on deepfakes, which I thought was a pretty good read too. So there you have it. Why no, 2 weeks? We're not going to do recording for 2 weeks? It's the holidays, folks. You got to gobble till you wobble. So we're not going to be in the office. Or we will be in the office. We're going to be in the office. I, however, am going to be traveling. So there you go. Next 2 weeks. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, folks. Attitude of gratitude for everything that happens in your life and in your world. SM, by the way, in the month of December, when we come back, we're going to celebrate. We are now on our 5th year of doing these cyber threat briefings for all of you at home. We're so glad you join us now on YouTube and be a part of this. We try to make the news as quick as we can, and we try to share it in the most simple terms as we can to help you protect your business, and we do it every week. And we always appreciate you hitting the like button or smash the like button, right? Okay, this week's learning, attitude of gratitude gift. It is Thanksgiving. We have to give back a little bit, and it's about knowledge and giving you knowledge because, knowledge without action is absolutely useless and irrelevant. But once you take action on the knowledge that we share with you, it can help you prevent damage to your business. It can stop adversity and, keeping the lights on at your business. That's what it's about. So here's what we want to share with you. What can you do to get some of the knowledge faster than just one time a week from us? And one of the things that we always recommend all of our clients do, subscribe to the CISA report. CISA puts out free updates almost daily on things that could potentially hurt your business, vulnerabilities, threats that are happening. They also publish this stuff on social media, but you can subscribe to their automatic updates at the CISA website. I highly recommend that. If you don't do anything today, at least sign up for that because they cover a lot of stuff, and a lot of the information we share with you comes from CISA. Another thing that I recommend especially is signing up for the MS Isaac subscriptions. You can find that on the Center for Internet Security. They talk a lot about CIS controls and vulnerabilities and industry best practices, and it's a fantastic resource. They actually have groups that you can belong to based on your sector. So if you're in the retail sector, you can sign up and subscribe to the MS Isaac Retail Bulletin. Or if you're in the aviation sector or the banking or the casinos, whatever business you're in, and they have specific newsletters pertaining to cyber threats and vulnerabilities pertaining to your sector. So that's helpful. But there is a new tool on the block, and I love sharing new tools. Can you believe it? Have I Been Pwned has been our go-to reference tool for a very long time, but there's now a new alternative, a new challenger on the block, databreach.com. So here's a place that you can go to see if your information or your business information is caught up in a recent data breach, and they published that. And by the way, the hot topic breach happened in the news this week. We're not going to cover it today, but this is where you would find out, hey, I shop at Hot Topic, and am I caught up in the Hot Topic breach? All right, that's where you find it. What else is going on? Well, of course, you have our threat briefing, threat intelligence news feed, which you can sign up for. That's where we share all the links from this week's briefing with you. And of course, we have our videos on YouTube and our shorts and SecurityMetrics Academy, free data security training. How cool is that? Available to you. But here are the other sources that we want to share with you. You know, how do we stay on top of the news? And I'll tell you, it's challenging. There's so much news happening every day. Today alone, we have 10 slides just on the vulnerabilities that have been in the news since yesterday. But here you go. Here's a listing of some of the places that we subscribe to. And these are fantastic resources, and most of them are all free. And, you know, you can set up the frequency too. If you don't want to get a daily email, or you only want to get it weekly or semi-weekly, I get it. You're very busy, right? You don't have time to be reading all this news. That's why you got us for it. But these are great resources. Here's some more resources available to you. I particularly like the API security newsletter. It's one of my favorites. I also love Krebs on Security. Brian Krebs, we usually talk about him once or twice a month here at SecurityMetrics. And speaking of holiday cheer and gift giving, yeah, don't forget about Jen Stone, the Jen Stone podcast experience. Yeah. SM, we have the latest episode, podcast episode 105. How do you get through the security storm that is PCI 4.0? Oh, man, some awesome guests on that episode, all on YouTube. This is the time. Yeah, the patch circus. I wanted to call it Patch Palooza, but it is not. It is a circus this past week, especially yesterday. The number of things that came out that have to get patched. No joke, folks. And, you know, last week, I thought there were some last week that were important. But this week, it just was like a firestorm. And it started off in the morning when this CISA advisory, again, sign up for these advisories. What they said was, and this came out just yesterday, the 2023 top exploited vulnerabilities. And I thought it was a misprint. 2023? Wait, it's 2024. And we're talking about an advisory regarding 2023 vulnerabilities. Yeah, that's a big deal because it's in the news this past week about the MOVEit vulnerabilities with Amazon and Delta and a bunch of other companies all getting hit with this old MOVEit vulnerability from May of 2023, but it doesn't stop with just MOVEit. There's things like Citrix and Cisco and Fortinet 0 days that are still being exploited by threat actors. And you know what they're saying in the news media is there's a surge of exploits of 0 days, and it's the new normal. And the cool thing about this advisory that came out, it was put together by the they call it the Five Eyes Alliance. So what we're talking about here is United States, Canada, UK, Australia, I think French is in there. But all of these agencies came together to say, enough is enough. Please fix these vulnerabilities in your business. And that is why we came up with Pulse. I mean, at the end of the day, if you need a tool to help your business stay ahead of all these vulnerabilities that are getting announced, this is what Pulse does, our Pulse platform. Inexpensive vulnerability scanner. It makes things very simple to find the vulnerability and then help your IT staff, your very small IT staff, get in there and patch. Okay, but yeah, if you said there were 10 pages of vulnerability slides, it's a circus. Microsoft, 91 flaws, 40 days announced yesterday. The two that you need to be concerned about is getting a handle on Windows, NTLM, and then, of course, the Exchange server and task scheduler. These two are being actively exploited in the wild right now, but it doesn't stop there. There was a huge Exchange warning. Microsoft put out this announcement that they're putting a disclaimer on all emails, and it's just a warning that there is abuse going on, specifically attackers forging legit senders on incoming emails, and then they're making malicious messages a lot more effective inside Exchange. There is no patch for this yet to this Microsoft Exchange. Now, we record every Wednesday. There might be something released soon, but as of right now, the big challenge in the industry when it comes to Microsoft Exchange is the parsing. And the parsing is apparently not being done correctly, especially in the from field. So, a security researcher came out and they said, hey, this is really bad. It's not complying with RFC standards. All these different mail providers are using different standards. There's some of them, they're using symbols. Maybe they're not using wingdings. I hope not wingdings. They're using and group names, a whole bunch of different things. So that's causing issues. What else is happening? I know, 10 pages. I told you this was a circus, folks. Google, we're talking about Chrome, multiple vulnerabilities, no reports of active exploitation on Chrome, so you got to get in there and patch that. But it doesn't stop there. Oh my gosh. You have a box of tissues. I mean, you might need them here. Look at this, folks. If you're a network admin, oh man, Ivanti, Citrix, Adobe, Fortinet, Veeam, Palo Alto, oh my gosh, Cisco, all this stuff has to get patched. But wait, there are more. Hefe Maze here for Cyber OxyClean. Look at this. This is a mega thread that I pulled up on Reddit this morning. All of these things got to get patched. And this one guy, Josh Taco, he put this comment in there. Science compels us to explode the sun, ready to push this out to 11,000 workstations. Yeah, it's an insane circus, folks, a patching. And it doesn't stop. It keeps going. Intel, 44 advisories, 80 vulnerabilities, 20 of them were high severity. AMD, 8. Oh my goodness. This is your moment to breathe. I know. Calm down, right? Calm down. Breathe, everyone, because there's more. D-Link NAS devices, there's a critical flaw in them. Specific models are the ones that can be patched. There are about 16, though, other D-Link NAS devices that cannot be patched. They're discontinued models. So if you have a NAS device, a network-attached storage device in your business, especially on security cameras and so on, you got to check the model. Make sure that you're aware of which devices have been deprecated. But there's more D-Link news because some businesses, they have this modem, this DSL 6740. This has been end of life. You can no longer get support for it. D-Link is telling everybody, get rid of it. If you got this modem in your business, don't use it. But there's more. This is what our team has been busy with this past couple days, is these issues going on with the router botnets. We mentioned it last week, Quad botnet, which was affecting TP-Link, but now there's more. There's more routers being impacted. And in this slide here, you see which ports are being affected. This is what our team does in the SOC. We look at traffic on these ports, and then we notify our clients when a botnet is operating. So be aware of it. There's a lot of models of routers impacted by this. A lot of small office, home office routers being affected. And Mazda, do you drive a Mazda? Yeah, Mazda cars. Multiple models have a hacking problem. There's vulnerabilities, especially in the infotainment unit of the Mazda Connect software. So you got to update the firmware on your Mazda car. Be aware of that. So there's the circus. It's over. I hope you enjoyed your ticket. No refunds, folks, on this patch circus. We do have case studies we share, and we try to find a case study that we found interesting that our SOC analysts found and share it with you. Charles, if you're on the line, go ahead and open up your mic. Help me out, my friend. Talk to me. What the heck was going on here in this use case?
Yeah, so this was actually a very interesting use case. So our anti-malware scanner picked up this specific program. So we looked a little bit further because it's very interesting when something gets flagged like that. and we found that it was actually a very old computer edutainment calculator program. So, very old school. When we found the program, we visited the website and it looked straight out of the 90s, exactly like that example right there. So a very, very old program, almost certainly hasn't received patches in decades. So we advised the client that this program was in place and they should probably uninstall it.
Yeah, not only uninstall it, but this is where you hope you have somebody like SecurityMetrics to help you out, and that's what our Pulse platform does. Where it kill chain, we're talking about exploitation here. This is where you have a piece of old software. It may not have been activated for bad use yet by the threat actor, but it's in your environment and you haven't removed it. So you got to do audits. You really got to get in there and understand what's old software, legacy stuff you got running, and then if you don't need it anymore, pull it out. But don't forget about the backups too, because if you back that stuff up, and you forgot it's a fine looking app, why don't you back it up, and you forget that it's backed up, and then the next thing you know, you're reloading that same backup of old legacy software. You can't do that, folks. You got to get on top of that. So we always take time. This is our moment where we let off some steam, some aggression, because there's sometimes in the news that just gets us fired up. The one that caught my eye this week was about the Secret Service. They said we don't need a warrant. Yeah, we don't need a warrant anymore, because you know why? You agree to the terms of service on that app, and that allows us to just track wherever you're at with the location data. This is going to go to a courtroom, folks. I am so dying to see how this plays out in the courtroom. Can the Secret Service really do that? A warrant not needed? We're going to find out. Another story in the news was about Consumer Reports, and we know we have a lot of customers that are PCI compliant customers of ours, and they're always curious about Tap to Pay, Zelle, Venmo. Consumer Reports, they did a little study, and they said, it's not as secure as you think it is. And why is it not secure? Well, on those apps, we mentioned it last week, and if you tune into last week's episode, we talk about holiday shopping tips and what security settings to turn on Zelle and Venmo. But there's not a lot of pro-consumer policies that these companies have. And, if you have a problem and you have maybe an unauthorized or a stolen account, you might have an easier chance to get reimbursement. But what about when you're induced to pay for something and you make payment to the wrong person or a scammer, for example? There's very little recourse you have to get your money back. So Consumer Reports says the P2P industry needs to make some changes, and here are some of our changes that we recommend. They're saying there should be a 24-hour holding period for transactions of $500 or more. I like that idea. How about a universal 12 to 24-hour window during which all payments can be easily reversed? I really like that idea a lot. What about fully reimbursing consumers? I don't know if that'll get passed. But Consumer Reports, it's a fantastic article, and this is what they're recommending to the political environment to make changes. What else is going on in the world? The China hacker army. I know. Newsweek did a story about this, and Newsweek is saying that China went and they built out the most comprehensive ecosystem for capture the flag competitions. Now, in the world of cybersecurity, this is how we upskill ourselves. We participate in these capture the flag stuff. For 10, 15 years now, the United States has been pushing this kind of stuff, CTF competitions. And China's mentality is they're building something structural when it comes to training people for cybersecurity jobs and capture the flag competitions, while the U.S. mentality is they're trying to solve a problem that's right in front of them. It's not long-term strategic thinking. And I always find it interesting when it comes to this capture the flag stuff is trying to get kids in the high school and middle schools interested in cybersecurity careers. And a lot of them say, no, we don't want to do that. We just want to be a YouTuber. We just want to be a professional gamer. We find that more fun. So again, that's part of our challenge here in the States as well. We have this perception that cybersecurity is maybe not as fun as video gaming. I don't know. It can be like a video game at times. I feel like sometimes when we do this job, it's whack-a-mole. We knock one mole down and there's 20 more that appear. Back to the future, though, in the big news, I mentioned this earlier in the briefing, how Delta and Amazon, they said, we were, I'm sorry about that. We were caught up in the Move It leak. Wait. Again? Like I thought I was in a movie like Back to the Future. You guys remember 2023 of May when, 2,773 organizations, 96 million records were all caught up in the Move It breach? Well, Delta and Amazon confirming. And apparently, there are actually more companies caught up in this new round of Move It leaks, 23 others that we do not know the names of yet. But Clop, the Clop ransomware gang, these were the ones that were behind it. Allegedly, they got about $75 to $100 million in ransom payments from back in May of 2023. So you could see why it's a profitable endeavor for the bad guys to keep going back to these old vulnerabilities from 2023. Hence the advisory. Remember earlier in the threat briefing, the advisory CISA put out said, yeah, there's all these 2023 vulnerabilities that businesses, they're not patching, folks. Got to get on that. And as we wrap up the gaslighting stuff, genetic discrimination. We talk about privacy from time to time, and I could not believe this story, how genetic discrimination is coming for us all. I thought it was a clickbait headline. And then when you get into the story, it's talking about how insurers across the country are refusing to cover Americans whose DNA reveals health risks, and it's perfectly legal. And they give this heartbreaking story about Bill, who had, I believe, ALS, the potential to develop ALS, but never developed it. Yet his insurer said, we're not going to cover you because you did the gene test and the DNA test came back and said, you might get it at some point. So in the meantime, you're a high-risk person. Man, that stuff gets me upset. All right, data breaches in the news. There were quite a few, a lot. In fact, we never have time to cover all the data breaches. There are some stories, though, that really do catch your eye, especially when you see video and photos of grocery store shelves completely empty. This was in Connecticut at the Stop and Shop grocery stores. Imagine walking in there last week and you see this and you see these empty store shelves. The parent company is saying it was a network problem related to potentially cybersecurity, limited inventory available. We still don't have attribution who the threat actor was. I just kept thinking in the back of my mind, VeggieTales Live. I don't know why, but then they interviewed a guy, and the guy said, I'm a vegetarian. When there's nothing in the produce department, not much for me to buy, I got an acorn squash. And then all of a sudden I realized my wife serves me like acorn squash every other night, and I am so sick and tired of eating acorn squash. And this guy's talking about it. So that's why the story also caught my eye, not just the cybersecurity part. Select Blinds, though, they got caught up in this card skimming data breach. This is what we do at SecurityMetrics. We have a product called Shopping Cart Inspect. Had Select Blinds called us, we probably would have been able to help them. Undetected for nearly 9 months. These people at Select Blinds in Arizona had no idea that their credit card numbers of their customers were being skimmed right off the top. This is what we do. And we would hope you give us a call if you're concerned about your shopping cart. This is why we do what we do. There was also a story in the news about credit card readers malfunctioning, and this was tied to Israel. And what was interesting about this story is I heard a lot of reports from people saying, yeah, I went to my gas station this weekend, and their credit card readers were down, and they were blaming a cyber attack. So how's it all connected? And I always wonder, is Hype Credit Card, this is the company that was breached, but potentially, or DDoS attack, believe it or not. And these were the guys that were, having problems. Always wondered, is that also connected back to the United States? So you don't know. Nothing's been shared yet. If we find out more, we'll share with you. And other cyber news as we wrap up the briefing today. Bitdefender, BitLocker, this new ransomware decryptor can now recover the BitLocker password. So the problem came from ShrinkLocker ransomware. And what it was able to do is actually lock out the BitLocker drive encryption in Windows BitLocker. And Bitdefender, the fascinating story here is not that it was reverse engineered, but how they did it. How did Bitdefender reverse engineer the ransomware? And we've included that story, how they went in through time and they're able to figure out the sequence of events that were going on. And now they have a decryptor. So if you get locked out, they can help. All right. What else is going down? The Life Aquatic with Vladimir Putin. And he's out there saying, hey, ominous warning about, that's my New York accent, ominous warning about undersea internet cables Such statements often sound like a cover for Russia's own intentions. I've always thought this was fascinating. In the Cold War, this was a situation that happened where the United States was able to get into the undersea cables, and now they're saying this is a new threat, and it's not just Russia that we got to be concerned about, the life aquatic with Vladimir, but also China saying, compromising the underwater internet cables. Dangerous stuff, folks. And Canada, Canada, shutting down TikTok. Yeah, they're saying it's a national security risk. They're taking a page potentially out of the United States playbook, where you gotta shut down TikTok. Anything that's bad for you, banning. That's the solution to everything. Ban it. They're saying though you could still access TikTok in Canada. They just won't have a physical office in that country. Oh, and by the way, as we wrap this up, the last topic is cell phone security. And I thought this was an interesting story, I think on Forbes. I thought it was clickbait as well. People don't use other people's iPhone charging cables. And I totally forgot about Hack5, the retail store. They sell this cable called OMG Elite. It's about $179. This cable is absolutely fascinating. It's like a mini computer inside this cable. You can use it to capture keystrokes, steal credentials, exfiltrate data, plant malware. It even has a Wi-Fi access point in it. So very powerful cable. And the concern, of course, is juice jacking. Android 15, the latest version of Android 15, has a lockdown mode where this kind of stuff can be prevented. Lockdown mode's enabled. No one will be able to use a cable like that. But it's also, what about iPhone? Well, iPhone data security, they don't have that feature yet. However, they did put out a new feature, a data security feature regarding extended inactivity, and they will reboot your device. Of course, police are freaking out about this because a lot of these forensic teams, they've unlocked the phone and now they can't get in. And then what's interesting is I was talking to a police friend today, and he said, yeah, we're actually using a mechanical device like a toothbrush to go across the top of the phone to keep the phone unlocked so it doesn't lock out because of this new iOS update. And I said to him, I joked, I said, well, Celebrate should just charge you $10,000 for that mechanical toothbrush. So there you have it, folks. That is our briefing. Remember, no briefing next week or the week after. Have a great, wonderful Thanksgiving. Attitude of gratitude that you join us every week. Thank you for sharing with your friends and family. Appreciate you.